she knew, despite it all, despite of everything, as he reached out his hand, beckoning her forward, all she ever truly wanted was to be believed in. Das Catalyst had always been a plain girl, not especially unpleasant nor unappealing, but plain nonetheless, whether it be her common brown round eyes, pale coral hair, or demeanour. She did not immediately stand out among the members of her esteemed family. Yet it could not be argued that something about the girl herself utterly contradicted her unassuming appearance. As a child, Das seemed to hunger for more, and what more could she have had? Das may have been plain by face, but she was not plain by birth. Born to a wealthy family within the kingdom of Rondon, she couldn't have truly asked for a better foundation. She was raised in the spires within the keep of her family's castle, the twisting halls leading to separate wings, which in turn led to numerous rooms. Each day Das was entertained by a menagerie of activities, music performed under the lull of lutes and harps, poetry and ballad readings telling tales of heroic feats and mythical beasts, sparring with steel swords in the courtyard for as long as she pleased. Each meal Das ate was nothing less than divine, plates piled with tender, juicy meats of pork, beef and lamb dripping with gravy, vegetables consisting of cooked carrots, crunchy cabbage and garden peas, assortments of sweet treats, the selection starting with tarts of gingered brie or sweetened strawberry, spiced currant buns, almondy figs. Each night Das slept in a bed of silk, four-post and engraved. It was fur-lined during the bitterest of winters, the fireplace always blazing to usher cold winds away. The comfort enjoyed most certainly would have been bliss for the average citizen of Rondon, whom of which suffered to live by the day. Yet Das, whilst not to be confused to be ungrateful, yearned. She yearned for more. It could be felt within the strikes she made while drilling with the sword, the thrust she made with a shield. She was meant for more than simple security hidden within castle gates. It wasn't long before the proposal she become a holy knight was suggested, and a decision made. Her training intensified alongside her will to protect and serve. Soon it was clear that the kingdom's army would lack in nerve and skill without the now young woman. Das did protect and serve, following her orders with immaculate precision, her victories often, her losses unheard of. Das had her purpose, the reason for her being. Some say time heals all wounds, yet it is also true that time kills many dreams. Das was not unperceptive, nor was she ignorant. The dream of being a beacon of light promised by the path of a holy knight dimmed when observing battle plans that only resulted in the deaths of many and the rewards reserved by a few wealthy elites. The corruption she witnessed as the years drew on began to mine a pit into her gut, one that chipped away with each self-serving conquest. Das withdrew deep into her thoughts as she now not only fought on the battlefield, but within her own mind. Could she continue to partake in this farce? Would she be able to stomach the insidious machinations of the rich and the powerful and the exploitative, even if she herself was birthed into such a people? Her heart ached, and her will to remain wavered. No. Upon learning of Das's contemplations, her family reviled in disgust and shame. In no uncertain terms would a daughter, a granddaughter, a niece of theirs defect, would desert. Such insolence, such a belligerence would be met with nothing short of shunning, of disownment. The vulgarity of the notion was met with such hostility that Das delved deeper into herself and her thoughts. She became as a walking dead, taking instruction, acting, succeeding, but with no enjoyment, no revelry. In her darkest moments, late into the night, Das even began to ponder if this pitiful existence was worth enduring, if her blade would not be better in service unless she used it upon herself. It was raining that day, Resigned to her fate and hardened by her repulsion for those she served, she had expected no such encounter, especially on a day as dreary as this. As she rode her horse through the vast openness of the fields in solitude, a host appeared in the distance. They too rode, though some walked. They carried spears and swords and shields and bows and arrows, and their horses drew carts. The group was made of many types of men, Das could tell as they neared. Some tall, some short, some clean-shaven, others bearded, all armour-clad in iron. They flew a banner behind them she did not recognize. The top a navy background studded with 6 silver diamonds, the bottom a yellowed skull with rays streaking out as if it were a setting sun. As Das neared, she saw the front lines stiffen. Their grip upon their weapons tightened. It wasn't until she was barely a few feet away that she saw the grimace upon the face of the man whom led them as he suddenly halted their march to a stop. Under his helm was a set of pale eyes that narrowed at the sight of her. His intense stare seemed to look both at her, yet also straight through her, indifferent yet hopelessly fixated. As he froze, the wind brushed his similarly muted, tawny hair that also seemed to pale to silver between raindrops splashing down her face. Transfixed, there was nothing Das could do. Something about this man told her to stay still and not move, as if it would break some sort of spell. The pause deepened as the man stared Das up and stared Das down. Knight of Rondon. He spoke so suddenly, shattering the silence between them. Das swallowed, yet could not bring herself to speak in return. With authority he declared, "We will pass by. It is not a true battle against treachery if there is only one opponent." "You speak of treachery," Das spat, hating to break the enchantment between them, but her voice escaped her mouth before she felt she allowed it to. "I lead the treachery's battles for them and claim their prizes. I eat with the treachery's conspirators and I sleep by their side. I know of it." The man's head almost twitched. He had not expected her response. "You are aware of your sins, yet you parade its sigil upon your shield as a trophy. My sin is my imprisonment to the cause I am forced to partake in." Was it her imagination, or did his eyes soften? "You view your service as captivity?" Darcy's throat dried with such haste. It had been, truly. Her freedom had been stripped the day she became a holy knight, and she had not even been aware of it. "With all the luxuries in the world possible at my feet, the only one I long for is freedom." A glint flashed over the man's eyes for the slightest second, almost as if he had an opportunity and was about to seize it. And seize it he did. He raised his arm back towards his men. "I am Legarde," he proclaimed, "leader of the Knights of the Midnight Sun. We are a growing force. With each conquest we take, the people flock to my cause to rout and destroy the poisonous hypocrisy of the so-called Kingdom of Rondon. We will make this land anew, unifying them into a place where there is no need to fear the violence of tyrants. We believe that with the voice of the people, with their strength, we can rid the world of such corruption." He looked her directly in the eye. "You recalled you led the despot's battles. Do you believe such a world could exist? Could you be its maker?" She knew, despite it all, despite of everything, as he reached out his hand, beckoning her forward, all she ever truly wanted was to be believed in. The battle had been a bloody one. The clanging of weapons echoed out across the grassland, crashing as men collided into each other. Darcy's ears rang as she pushed forward, holding strong and true, whilst it could not be truly said how long it clashed on for. At the final hour, she had yet again found herself in solitude. Fellow comrades in arms were strewn about the field like rain falling from the sky. Her eyes darted from one struck-down body to another, seeing if he was one of them. She did not know how much time passed as she stalked the plain, only that, once again she was sure, she knew she was alone. Alone again with naught but her thoughts. Das had quickly proven herself to the Knights of the Midnight Sun. Her training that had been channeled into a false promise was now drawn against them, and he was always by her side. Legarde didn't seem to be a man at all to Das. He was something greater, with a wonder so inspiring that to behold it was enough to leave her breathless. It was no illusion, she knew. As they traversed the lands, freeing villages to towns, the people came to him as if drawn by a string of fate. They saw, as she did, the hope he imbued. When they left one place, all followed behind. This was righteousness. This was justice. Their host grew by each day, as did their resolve. Yet they only knew him from afar. Das had Legarde's always intent ear as he paid heed to her strategy and trusted her intuition. Each night was spent within his personal tent, a small pot of soup simmering over rippling flames as the pair spoke of their plans, the future. She was ever in awe of how his vision was so perfect, so pure. Legarde was not simply a military force in himself, he was a man of philosophy and sought wisdom wherever it came from. At first Das had been concerned. His intrigue of the occult had not been a fascination familiar to her, the texts laid around his lodgings foreign. In his worldly way, Legarde explained that the church was not the only source of knowledge to be uncovered. Many corners of the earth had their own customs and beliefs, and he intended to know them all. It was only when Das heard of the prophecies those around him spoke of in hushed, eager whispers that he was the chosen foretold of, a fair-haired man who would unite the kingdoms together to create everlasting peace. Lost in reverence deep down, she knew it to be true, for how else would such a human being exist unless it were for the prophecies themselves coming to pass? Das scorned herself for doubting his repute, for being apprehensive. Even when listening to Legarde's scoffing of such notions, she believed, she knew. Who else but such a marvel would believe in her after all she had partaken in service of those who held their knights as bondsmen, shackled by false hope and veiling deceit under faith? Even upon hearing his plans to sail to distant shores, her conviction did not shake. He returned only with a relic, a strange, unassuming cube. Das's trust was unmoved, for who was she to question? It was not until the armies of London themselves poured in at full force to face her men in battle that Das truly feared all was lost. Not only was Legarde her captain, he was her world. Within her army she fought hard. She did not know if it were sweat or blood trickling down her face, but she did not care. She had to win and return back to Legarde, whom of which charged straight as an arrow to the front of the line. Yet it was clear that among the scattering of corpses, none of them possessed his light locks nor his clear eyes. He had been taken, and she knew precisely where. Without a doubt, without a second thought, she began her pilgrimage to the dungeon.